The webinar will be starting in 1 minute.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to people joining today's Customer Success Story webinar with Louise John, Business Officer at Essex County Council. I'm Patrick Bolger, Hornbill's Chief Evangelist, and I'll be moderating the webinar today. Louise is going to give us an open and honest review of Essex County Council's journey along the road to ITIL process maturity. She's going to include what went well, what didn't go well, and what they've learned on their journey. So just to inform you, delegate audio will be muted during the presentation to help facilitate flow and timekeeping. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the GoToMeeting questions facility on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll then collate the questions and answer them in the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. So thank you very much for taking the time to attend, and I'll now pass you over to Louise to hear about Essex County Council's journey to ITIL maturity. Louise.
Hi, good morning everybody. As you've just heard, my name is Louise and I'm from Essex County Council, and it's my pleasure to be here this morning just to share with you a bit about the journey that we've been on at Essex. As we get started, I thought I would just give you a brief overview of my experience. I worked for the Information Services Department at Essex County Council since 2008. I started in the governance team, moved to the project office, had a dabble with management information and performance management before finding myself, in all honesty, by accident in the service management team. I started as the problem management process owner and problem manager before spreading my wings across the whole of the service operations lifecycle stage and gaining an enthusiasm and a passion for ITIL along the way. These days, I have process ownership for all of the service operations processes and for continual service improvement. I love CSI and have a real passion for seeing the difference CSI can make to everything we do. I'll go on to tell you a bit more about the structure of our service management team a bit later, but I do just want to mention for the ITIL geeks, I do love all of the life cycle stages, and I also have experience across service transition. I also have the pleasure of being system owner for SupportWorks, and I have been involved in implementing the use of this across multiple departments at Essex. So that's enough about me. Let's get to the exciting stuff. The title of this seminar is Essex's Journey to ITIL Maturity, and this is my disclaimer. We're still on that journey. We're quite a bit further along than when we started, but we do still have quite a way to go. So I'm not saying at all that we are the best at everything. However, we have learned a lot along the way, which is what I want to share with you. Just a brief outline of what I'm going to say. I'm going to start with a bit of background about Essex, where we are now, where we were, and how we got there. And I hope from that you'll be able to take away some of what I'll talk about and apply it to your own organisations so that you can move a little bit further along your ITIL journey as well. So for those of you who haven't been to Essex, Essex County Council is England's second largest local authority and is the overarching local government body for Essex. We as a council provide vital services to a varied population of around 1.4 million people. Information Services is an in-house IT department who support a user base of around 10,000 employees plus external customers. Our department is made up of about 200 people, and we provide a fully managed IT service, looking after servers, networks, websites and applications in partnership with external suppliers. As a department, we have a set of robust ITIL processes, and the majority of these processes are managed within SupportWorks. And nearly everybody in our department is at least ITIL Foundation trained. So I'm pleased to tell you that since April 2015, we have consistently delivered an excellent service reporting pack with green KPIs. As an example of this, in February 2016, this means that of our 3,993 incidents that were logged, we resolved 100% of our priority 1 incidents within target, 100% of our priority 2 incidents within target, and 93% of our priority 3 incidents. And of our 1,594 standard service requests that were logged in February, we resolved 95% within target. And also, on average, in Q3 2015-16, we saw a 94% positive customer feedback rate. So if any of you have been on an ITIL intermediate course, you'll know the phrase ITIL is a journey. And so you'll probably want to know where we departed from. We had previously outsourced our IT services, and in 2009 we chose to bring these back in-house. As you can imagine, this was quite a difficult time and a difficult transition period. We had a poor reputation with our customers who had no faith in us. We barely measured their feedback because it was all negative. We had a service report overflowing with red KPIs. As an example, in Q2 2012, we resolved 63% of our priority 1 incidents within target, 83% of our priority 2s, 85% of our priority 3s, 49% of our standard service requests, and we only had an 82% positive customer feedback rate. We didn't have the right tools. Nearly everything we had was aged, unsupported, or in Excel. We had out-of-date documentation and old and over-engineered processes, which therefore weren't being followed. We had silos of knowledge and just no way to enable collaboration and sharing. And we had a no assurance rating on a plethora of audits, and we had a poor IT infrastructure. We, as a council and a department, were and still are under extreme financial pressure. So that's where we departed from, and I bet you've all faced similar challenges in your organisation, and it does sound quite impossible to overcome. However, in 2011, David Wild joined as our CIO and really set out our strategy so that we at Essex could become a truly mobile and flexible workforce. This included standardising our estate, gaining control of the service and our service level agreement, getting our underpinning contracts into line, and capitalising on sensible partnership opportunities such as our networking. And so we began on our travels, and our first stop was a portfolio of projects, one of which was the ITIL implementation project. This project included documenting our first 9 ITIL processes, finding out what the processes were, comparing the differences between them and best practice, and writing new processes. We also created service improvement plans for each process and created a 7-step improvement process to manage the service improvement plans. And we created and defined various KPIs for each process. This part of the project we did not have enough in-house knowledge to undertake, and so was completed by a team of consultants. This also included the creation of a new service management team with a process owner for each process and a separate best practice lead. This team of people was pulled together from across the current department, some with very little knowledge of ITIL, myself included. However, we were adequately trained and received handover of the processes from the consultants. At the same time, we embarked on the process of getting every IS employee ITIL Foundation trained. So all in all, this first stop was a pretty positive one, but it was a tough one. As the processes were defined by the team of consultants, the new process owners found them hard to get to grips with. We, as process owners, had been brought together and just had a real mixed bag of experience, enthusiasm and knowledge, and had a really tough time finding our feet. Also, SupportWorks had been unfortunately poorly maintained by ourselves and did not reflect the new processes, so this made them hard to implement, hard to audit and hard to report on. We did have some good news, which was lots of people successfully completed the foundation training, but then they found it hard to see how the processes were actually implemented and how and why ITIL mattered to them on a day-to-day basis. So we still had quite a long way to go. And I'm sure you've all experienced similar challenges and can empathise with this part of the journey. Luckily, we didn't stay at this stop for very long. As in all organisations, especially councils, it was time for a restructure to do more with less. So our team was reorganised, where the best practice lead became the manager of the team, with full responsibility for service management across IS, and the amount of process owners was reduced from 9 to 4. And their focus was changed from, instead of a process each, to a life cycle stage each, which is quite a big jump from 1 to 8 in some cases, which was quite a strain on the process owners who remained in the team. This also led to less specific focus on each process, and to be honest, at this point, many of the service improvement projects were abandoned, as was the Process Improvement Forum. However, looking back on it, what was really good about the reduction of process owners is that we got the right people in the right roles, the people who had really taken on the ITIL baton and wanted to run with it, the people who were passionate about helping the rest of the department understand and really see how they could and already were using ITIL in practice. These were the ones who stayed. Also, around this time, we ran and completed a project to upgrade SupportWorks to the latest version. And most importantly, as part of that, we stripped out all the customizations that we no longer needed and used the opportunity to implement our new processes into the tool and to really relaunch it to our department. This project was again tough and very resource heavy, and there was a real negativity within our department to use SupportWorks. However, within our team, we could see the benefits of having everything in one place and having everything built in so that we could ensure process compliance without even having to think about it. And so we persevered. And the lesson we learnt from this is, where possible, avoid customization as much as you can. And also that SupportWorks needed a real owner to bring it into line, to ensure appropriate system controls, a single point of ownership, and ensuring that it remains in line with our processes, especially as they adapt and change and improve. And what went really well with the upgrade project is that it paved a way for the third stop on our journey. I called this stop in my notes the implementation and embedding of a CSI process and culture. However, it was much simpler than that sounded. So as part of the upgrade, we started a small group who met together every week to review issues and improvements that we could make. We shortly turned this into any service improvement ideas, and our improvement process was born. We abandoned the suggestion boxes, the audit actions that were sat in various Word and Excel documents, and the email suggestions sat at the bottom of managers' inboxes, and we put them all in SupportWorks. This meant that anybody across the department could log on to our self-service portal and log their improvement ideas. And it could be improvement to anything, to SupportWorks itself, to a process, to the way their team does something, literally anything. And these ideas were then discussed at a weekly meeting, then agreed or not agreed with appropriate reasoning and assigned to somebody to implement. As you can imagine, we had a lot of improvement ideas to start with. We soon widened the scope of this meeting to include a representative from each team and senior management, and we gave it a catchy title, the Service Improvement and Review Forum, aka SURF, and it even got its own beach-themed logo. Through a series of improvements itself, the improvement ideas had their own defined process flow and standard communications, and we soon saw the improvements begin to be implemented. And this was a great stop on our journey. We had at the start a very document and plan heavy improvement process, that we tried to implement as part of Stop 1, but it was just too complex. So this time we really did just start small and almost organic with our improvement process. Just a few people meeting together every week with a few ideas, and then we widened it and widened it and widened it. And before we knew it, the whole department was starting to think about CSI, about ideas and about actioning improvements. And what I would say about this is that we tried again to manage it in Excel and OneNote to start with, and it was just too difficult. So get everything in the same place as everything else, and then everyone's workload is clear and the process is transparent. And that then leads us on to our current stop in the journey, so where we are now. So in regards to CSI, everyone now has CSI built into their yearly performance objectives and reviews, and our SURF meeting is well embedded, and we review new ideas, discuss updates, agree plans and timescales and budgets. Also, after the last few months, we have specifically ramped up our improvement work and taken the high priority improvement actions and created an improvement program with dedicated resources from each team to ensure the improvements are implemented. This revised approach has been really useful and has helped us as a department to really demonstrate our focus on CSI. Following this program, we have been reviewing the CSI process as a whole and improving it, so CSI for CSI. And what we've learned is that to make a real difference, we do need dedicated time and dedicated resource and a real focus on improvement. So at the moment, we are just trying to find out the best way forward. So at the moment, we're thinking of including a more robust categorization and prioritization matrix for the ideas, and maybe including customer voting, to ensure that we are putting our resources in the right direction. We're also looking to increase the CSI engagement across the department as a whole through options like gamification. So if anybody has any advice on gamification, I'd really love to hear it. But we have experienced the benefits of having focused CSI. Going back to what I said at the beginning, our service report is the best it has ever been, and that's not just a one-off for February, but a gradual and sustained improvement. For example, at the start we had an out-of-control major incident process, and we have since seen a 25% reduction in the amount of major incidents logged. The audits that we had no assurance on, we now consistently achieve substantial and good assurance. And in our team, we are now slightly different. We have what I like to call maturity where it matters. So, although after I thought about this, I thought all of the processes matter. But due to pain points and operational needs, we have focused heavily on the service transition and service operation lifecycle stages and improvements to the processes within those. We do have a few junior members of the team who we're training up to be great process owners, and we spend our time enabling, empowering and encouraging other teams to really understand their role and their part to play and the benefits of ITIL. And excitingly, we're in the process of completing a maturity assessment across the whole life cycle so that we can shift our focus into service strategy and service design with the aim to become ISO 20000 accredited. And so I thought I'd round up our journey with my top travel tips. So, number 1, know your destination. This is the most important of all my travel tips. Know where you're going, your aim, your strategy, the direction of your CIO and senior management. If your CIO is bought into and passionate about the vision of ITIL maturity, it not only makes the journey possible, but a whole lot easier. Senior management buy-in is what gets your plane in the air and keeps it there. And we've been really lucky because our CIO has continued to champion our ITIL maturity vision, and the senior management and the rest of the department have really got excited as they've seen the KPI improvements that we've made on our journey. Number 2, pack only what you need. Don't fill your suitcase so full you can't close it. So ITIL is great, but it's important to find flexibility in the framework. Don't just implement a process for the sake of it or follow it to the letter where there's conflicting priorities. Think about how you work currently and use what bits of ITIL you need to. For example, we've empowered our analysts, all our analysts, to communicate updates with our customers and to resolve incidents and SRs rather than going through the service desk every time. And this is because our desk just couldn't cope with the workload and also enables us to meet our fixed times and deliver a better customer service. So I would say just be simple and start with a little bit at a time and focus on that. Also, you don't want to get to your destination and find out you've got 20 pairs of flip-flops but nothing else to wear. So it's important to get the right mix of people and technologies to support the processes. And we've found that having them all built into SupportWorks has really embedded process compliance. For example, analysts that progress SRs through the built-in BPMs are complying with our request fulfillment process without knowing anything about ITIL, even though we would prefer it if they did. Okay, so travel together. So if at all possible, have a dedicated service management team and give the process owners time to really find their feet, to find their passion for ITIL and gain the knowledge they need through training, upskilling and a good balance between consultants and existing staff. And this will really give them the best opportunity to bring it to life. And also, if possible, get your whole department ITIL Foundation trained. It really helps. And what we found useful was after the training, get the process owners to run what the theory looks like in practice type sessions so that they could see how it links and the benefits and how it's relevant to their role and how we all have a part to play. Okay, buying new holiday clothes. So this is one of my favourite activities, but I'll buy 3 new bikinis, get home, realise I've already got 10 in my drawer, and I'm only going for 5 days. So sadly, what I'm trying to say is you don't always need to buy new clothes for your journey. So explore and discover the potential of what SupportWorks can do and use it to help you in whatever way you need it to implement and enforce processes, to standardise customer communications, to ensure all your improvement ideas are logged in the same place. Just whatever is going to help you in your journey, get it all in one place and use SupportWorks. Some of what we have in ours, just as an example, is incidents, problems, service requests, changes, releases, catalogue addition suggestions, improvement ideas. We have quite an extensive CMDB. We even, our information governance team even log their security incidents in there. And all of those follow set BPMs and have standard customer communications built in. We also have a self-service portal that our customers have redesigned so that it's really good and it's what they want to see and how they want to contact and communicate with us. So don't be afraid to look beyond the surface and push SupportWorks to its limits. I think we certainly have on ours. And finally, my final travel tip, keep travelling. So travelling at times gets tiring. There are unexpected delays. You might have to get off the train and get a rail replacement bus. There's been many times when we've experienced resistance during restructures and we've just got downhearted. But maybe use that time to check your rearview mirror to see where you've come from and to take some time to reflect. Like our good friend, the Deming cycle says, plan, do, check and act. And even part of our priority improvement program that we've been running recently, we've hit multiple roadblocks. We've had to overcome hurdles and at each point we've had to stop, check, plan, stop, check, act. Plan, do, check and act again and again and again. But most importantly, don't give up on your journey. Don't stop travelling. Remember why you started travelling, to improve the experience and satisfaction for your customers. And don't forget them, they are at the heart of what we do. So, yeah, thank you for listening. And does anybody have any questions?
Hi Louise, thank you so much for that. That's some pretty impressive stuff you guys have managed to achieve there, especially from your Q2 2012 figures up to what, 100% P1 and P2, 94% positive feedback. That's a pretty impressive change. Must have been a real challenge to actually get people on board with that.
What, across the department? It was, but as I said, we were very lucky in that our CIO, it was really passionate about ITIL and passionate about the difference that it could make. So we had quite strong management direction to sort of stick with it. But yeah, it was a challenge, and we have had to overcome a lot of hurdles on the way. But what we've come out with now is yeah, some really good KPIs, and as I said, that's not just I didn't just pull out like last month because it looked really good. That's sort of standard every month. Certainly with the P1s and the P2s, we've found that improving the major incident process itself has really helped that, because we've seen a reduction in the total amount logged. So obviously if you've got less major incidents being logged, then you've got, you know, a stronger chance of hitting the big 100%. So yeah, we're really pleased. Oh,
it's a cumulative thing. I mean, the more kind of you improve the process, the more stable your infrastructure becomes, the less priority one incidents you're dealing with, that type of thing. So it is a very much a thing that compounds, isn't it? You get the benefits the more you do.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And
okay, so sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you know, it's not like a magic pill. Like in 2012, they were really bad, and then we implemented the ITIL processes, and by 2013, they're all 100%. You know, it has been a journey, and we're now at, you know, 2016, and we're still trying to improve on those, and also start measuring other KPIs. And so we can demonstrate improvement on those. So for example, you know, moving towards more self-service stuff for our customers and enabling them to, you know, reset their own passwords and things like that. And so we're sort of shifting our KPIs to always focus on the areas that need improvement, rather than just, you know, always focusing on the ones we're really good at.
Yeah, that's a crucial thing. Now, one of the questions I got here, while we're on the topic of enabling customers to do more, is basically you're saying that your self-service was designed by customers. Have you achieved a better uptake of self-service because of that approach?
I was going to say we're quite cheeky, but that's probably not the right phrase to use, but we actually don't accept service requests via any other method apart from the customer portal. So the actual uptake of the portal we have is quite high, because customers have to go there for their service requests. Certainly something we've been focusing on as part of the improvement program that we've been working on recently, is trying to get more customers to log their incidents via the self-service portal. And so, you know, we've just recently redesigned the layout of all the categories and the subcategories, because one of the common questions was, you know, I can't find, you know, what I'm trying to log, or I can't find, you know, what I'm after. So we've tried to simplify it even more for incidents, just to try and really help the customers and encourage them to use it. So what I would say is we are definitely still on that journey. So the incident side of things is not where we'd like it to be at all. I'm just on a sort of a daily basis, I'm just thinking about how many, probably log about 200 incidents maybe, and of that maybe only a quarter come in via the self-service portal. So we'd like to see it quite a lot higher, and that's certainly been a focus of our improvement program that we've been doing the last few months.
Okay, I have a question here. Actually, I've got two questions which are relatively similar, I think. So I'll kind of try and combine them into one, if you like. So one is saying about ownership being a critical component to your success, and as the owner of SupportWorks, how much time do you need to dedicate to owning SupportWorks? The other one then asks, how much did it take to configure SupportWorks from where you were to where you are now? So I suppose, how much time from a standing start to configure it to where you are now, and how much time do you need to dedicate to it, I suppose, on an ongoing basis?
Okay, so from where it was to where we are now, we have actually undertaken 2 or 3 upgrades. So those themselves, you know, they are quite big pieces of work, especially the first one where we stripped everything out and we basically rebuilt all of our processes from scratch. We've got quite a few different processes for the different types of service requests with, you know, like automated tasks and this to that queue and this type of email and that sort of thing. So that was quite a long project that did require quite a lot of resource. But after that, the sort of upgrades have been much easier. And we have just been improving the processes and adding them as we go along. So I'm not too sure what it would take if you had nothing and you wanted to get to where we are. That would probably be quite a lot, but we sort of invested a lot at the time of the sort of starting afresh, if you want to call it that. And then since then, we've just been gradually improving it, you know, where we've identified a need or where we want to put something new in or where the customer wants something else or where we've been able to get more information from, you know, a software discovery tool, then we can start pulling that into SupportWorks and using that to, you know, build relationships in our CMDB and stuff like that. So that bit has sort of been a gradual improvement. In regards to ownership, that's an interesting question. At the beginning, as in before we had no owner, we basically there was probably about 10 or 12 admins, and all of the admins would just sort of go in and make changes into the live version of the system and then not tell anybody, and then something would break and we wouldn't know sort of what it was or anything like that. So when I took over being system owner, it sort of did take me a little time I sort of wrote like a policy, like spoke to all the admins so that they knew what was happening, you know, like had to amend everybody's permissions and ensure they had like support accounts and they had their normal analyst accounts, and then sort of restrict access to our development and our test versions of SupportWorks so that you know, we could keep them as copies of live and then build the improvements in there and then sort of copy them across into live in a sort of controlled fashion. So that did take a bit of work at the start. Generally now it's the admins they are pretty good, and so they sort of deal with day-to-day like customer creating new analyst accounts, or you know, if somebody has a weird error on the self-service portal and that sort of thing. So it doesn't take up much of my time from a support perspective of the live environment, but I spend more of my time ensuring that the developments and the improvements are sort of put in a controlled fashion. So we sort of aim for monthly releases. So as part of that, sort of everybody who wants to put in a change has to like add it into our like sort of SupportWorks release notes, and then we have a meeting to talk about them to make sure that nobody's you know, overlapping with other people's. Then obviously there's the development and building of those processes and wizards and services and stuff like that, data dictionary changes, which I spend a bit of time doing. And then it's just the migrating that from the development environment to the test environment and then into the live environment. so that's sort of where the majority of my time sits as owner, but obviously it depends on how strict you want to keep your system, I guess. I think I probably might rule ours with a bit of an iron rod, but you could be more flexible if you needed to. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, I think you have. Yeah, absolutely. Mark is asking, how many services do you have in SupportWorks? Do you have a service for each application, or did you combine them, e.g. grouping all HR applications, or have one-to-one relationship with each software application? So how many services do you have in SupportWorks? Are you using applications as services, or are you grouping them?
So at the moment, we have them grouped in sort of business services, and we have each application as a configuration item rather than as a service itself. And then on the customer portal where they submit service requests, you know, for those services as such, they're split out into the sort of things that the customers asking for. So we sort of have a service catalogue, which is all the business services, which we keep as really generic terms like email, unified communications, stuff like that. And then we have sort of like a product catalogue on the self-service portal, where it's got the services broken down a bit more, where you can, you know, somebody's joining, somebody's leaving, I need a new shared mailbox, I need a new laptop, etc.
And those are, a lot of those are standard requests, and I'll take it, and you've got a uniform way of dealing with them because of the way you've done that in SupportWorks.
Yeah, certainly. So everything that's logged, all the service requests that are logged via the portal, they come in, and then we've actually managed to get some of them so they're completely automated. So for example, for sort of peripherals like mice and keyboards, we have like a delivery to desk supplier. So the customer will log the service request on our portal for a new mouse, and then the BPM that we've built in SupportWorks will, you know, make sure it's got the right authorization, we'll assign it into the right queue, put it in the right status, and then we have like a scheduled report that pings out of SupportWorks every evening, emails the supplier, then the supplier picks it up, delivers the mice, and then they send us a report back with what ones they've delivered that day, and then we can resolve the SRs. So
that's really clever. So minimal effort and maximum output. And I think you've answered Mark's followed up his question by saying, is that wizard related then? So clearly you're using the self-service wizards to actually drive a lot of that through the BPM.
Yeah, we are. So I'm trying to think of an example, but we've got so for a new starter, if it's somebody from a third party, in the wizard it will say, is this a new starter, like a permanent employee or somebody from a third party? And when you click third party in the wizard, when it then eventually makes its way into the BPM, once, you know, the service request has been logged, the BPM will then pick information up from the answers provided in the wizard and send an automated task to our information governance team to review, you know, whatever they need to review, and then it won't sort of move on until they've approved. Whereas if you hit just a normal starter, then the BPM realizes that you've hit normal starter, and then it takes it on a different route. So yeah, so certainly throughout the last 4 years we have learned a lot about BPM, and we do still continue to improve them where possible to drive these efficiencies, which is definitely why our standard service request KPIs have improved, because we have managed to be able to you know, complete them more quickly because a lot more is automated.
That's a really good point. I mean, I did just a session with Mark Temple from Glasgow University, and he was saying pretty much the same thing. They're using VPME to do an awful lot of their automation, and he's just basically saying SupportWorks is a platform, use it. You know, so I think that's basically the point that you're saying here. So there's one other question I want to ask you, Louise, before I start. You mentioned setting up your CSI meetings and stuff like that and keeping everything in one place. So did you have a CSI register in SupportWorks, or did you draft it some way of doing that? Because you mentioned spreadsheets to begin with.
Yeah, so how it works is the sort of log an improvement initiative is an option on the self-service portal that's only available to the people within information services. So obviously it asks you wizard questions, and then when it logs it logs it as a change request. So we view improvement ideas as a type of change request. And so then it comes into SupportWorks as a change request. So in essence, our CSI register is then just a report of all of those change requests in SupportWorks.
Which then you review a cab if you need to, or if there's standard changes, or whatever. That's a clever way of doing it.
Yeah, so certainly what it enables us to do, well, firstly it enables everybody to see what's in their queue. So if you're working on like some incidents, some service requests, you've got your improvement ideas in there as well, and obviously they're not SLA'd, and also, you know, we can task out to other teams using tasks on the change requests, and we've actually built it into the BPM. So if there's a point in the improvement process where you then need to go to CAB, it will then move the change request into the sort of request for change process, and then at the end of that it can then move it back into the improvement process. So yeah, so that's how we do it. Yeah.
Fantastic. I love the focus on improvements. I love the fact that you had kind of the concepts of best practice lead, and I actually particularly like the idea of people owning kind of various different parts of the service lifecycle. Was that an awful lot of work? We'll say service transition is not exactly a small one. So is that a real challenge for someone to own transition?
Yeah, and certainly what we've found is, because we've got there's now 3 of us who are sort of responsible for life cycle stages. So I'm responsible for service ops and CSI, and then the other 2 are actually jointly responsible for service transition, because they also practition it as well. So they practition change management and they practition release management, which is quite a large sort of workload along with being a process owner. So you'd think if there was 3 of us, we would be spread a bit more across the life cycles, but that's certainly something that we are looking to, and that's like the next step of our improvement as a team, is to move into the other life cycle stages, and that's why we've got some junior guys in our team who we are training up to take on some of the practitioning of the changing and the releases, and also practition some service ops stuff, so sort of problem management specifically sits in our team as well. And by training these guys up, then that sort of releases us to own and to implement and to improve some of the processes in the other life cycle stages. But yeah, service transition is certainly a challenge, but is critical. Yeah.
Okay. I've got probably one more question here, which is Usman is just how do you capture customer / end users feedback for service improvements?
So we send out, every time we resolve an incident or a service request, we send out like an email to the customer saying please rate our service, and then they leave, you know, positive, neutral or negative on and their comments on the specific incidents and service requests. So we pick them up and review them, and we actually, within our department, within IS as a whole, there is somebody who's sort of responsible for customer service and improving the customer service. So they pick those queries up, and where their improvement ideas and suggestions, they feed them in. And what we also do is I run a portal focus group and we meet sort of quarterly, and we go through, you know, changes and improvements and issues they have with the portal, and from that we get a lot of our improvement ideas as well. But as I said, certainly with this improvement program that we're just reaching sort of the end of, as we move back into sort of more BAU CSI again, we want to put in a prioritisation matrix, and we want our customers to be involved a lot more. So we're, you know, thinking of customer voting and stuff like that in the same way you can on the Hornbill website, can't you? Vote for your customizations, and I mean you can with Microsoft and stuff like that. So yeah, we certainly want to get the customers more involved than they are at the moment.
No, okay, that's fantastic. I think one of the key things that you've identified here, and what kind of, I suppose, got it for me, you mentioned it, plan, do, check, act, and a lot of the time I think it's plan, do, stop for a lot of organizations. It's hard to kind of fight the fires you're fighting and actually plan improvement at the same time, but once you actually start to do, and what you guys have done is to my mind, the perfect way of actually to pack what you need advice. So in the ITIL mantra, I suppose, adopt, adapt, improve, and you guys really focus on those components. I think that to me is key to success within this. So only adopt the bits that are going to make a difference to you, adapt them so that they actually work for you, and continually improve them. And it seems that certainly for your role and in Essex in general, that's kind of been the mantra you guys are living by.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Holly, have you heard about the new ITIL practitioner qualification? Are you going to look at that?
I have heard about it. There are quite a few guys in other teams in our department who are really interested in doing it, because they actually sort of practition the processes, you know, so like the request fulfillment, and specifically he was one of the team leader from that team was talking to me the other day about getting to grips with the practitioner. So yeah, we're certainly looking into it, and I think it's a really exciting step.
It's a nice approach, and 9 guiding principles, and also the fact that it takes a complete, starts with CSI, absolutely starts with CSI, which is kind of where you guys, which takes us back to where you're at, really. That's what you did. You started with service improvement plans right at the outset, and that seems to be crucial in getting you to where you are now. Louise, that's fantastic. You delivered a really good presentation. I think there's a lot of people out there that are delighted to have got some of this kind of great advice, so and I think they found it very interesting. So for people that are still on there, we're going to make this recording available on the customer forum and also through the SupportWorks YouTube channel fairly soon. If you've got any additional questions, you can contact us, and if there are questions for Louise, we can kind of push questions Louise's way, or if we can help, we will, or contact your relationship manager. So all that remains for me to say is to thank everyone for their time today, and we look forward to getting you online for one of our next webinars, and say thank you very much, Louise. That was really, really good. Nice to see someone doing it the way it should be done.
Thanks for having me.